let's talk about a story that is not being talked about enough. And it really hurts me from the bottom of my heart seeing the suffering that people in this country are going through, much like I see the suffering happening in all these other countries. But in particular, in this country, in Yemen, there is a huge humanitarian crisis. And it's even not being talked about enough on independent media. And the US is giving money to Saudi Arabia, which is which are undergoing a war against the people in Yemen. There's sanctions on the people of Yemen. They can't receive medicine. They can't receive food. There's a cholera outbreak on top of the COVID outbreak that's happening there. There's these pictures of children who are dying of hunger. There's preventable diseases, but they just don't have the resources or the medicine to help cure these diseases. So there's an article here that was published on Mint Press News, and it's called "Manipulating Dollar Rial Exchange Rate Saudis and U.S. Double Casa Yemen's Staple Goods." So this is under the category "The Forgotten War." Yeah, it is almost forgotten. Not enough people are talking about it. I mean, the farthest I see some independent channels go is like, yeah, there's something going on in Yemen, but then they don't go deeper into what's actually happening. If you guys know of any people who I can invite on to talk about this, I would love to. But I mean, there's so much that a lot of these foreign policy journalists who I have on, we talk about Syria, which is important as well. We talk about Palestine, but we can't forget about the other struggles that are happening either, such as Yemen, and such as what's happening in regions of Africa, like Congo and Somalia. But what I wanted to talk about from this story is how there are people in Yemen who are rising up. So thousands of Yemenis held rallies in cities across the country demanding hunger not be used as a weapon by Saudi Arabia and the United States in order to bring the locals to their knees. It doesn't matter who we have in office. We didn't vote fascism out with Joe Biden. Look at what is currently still happening, which is why he doesn't deserve any praise for quote unquote pulling troops out of Afghanistan, when really he's just doing what his donors tell him to do. That's always going to be the case for Joe Biden. That's always how he has operated in the 40 years that he's been a politician. But it takes people, working class people, to rise up and challenge their oppressors and fight against their oppressors in order to get changes to happen, actual changes to happen, not relying on these people in power to have a change of heart. We have to pressure these politicians. Could it lead to a change of heart on them if we pressure them? Maybe, but regardless, nothing will happen unless we rise up. And when other countries are rising up, we report on that. And especially when our country is playing a part in oppressing those people. So aid in Yemen, the prices are skyrocketing. We can't feed our children. They are starving, Sahir Abu Salim, a government employee and a mother of 5, said as she participated in a protest in Aden against Saudi Arabia and the government of ousted Yemeni President Abdul Mansur al-Hadi. The protests took place at the Aden port this week in the wake of a recent decision by the Saudi-backed government in Aden to raise the US dollar exchange rate for major life-saving goods. Now Sahir and her husband are struggling to feed their family in the coastal city where the price of staple rudi loaf of bread has soared 250% in a month. Its portion halved in size. When the U.S. State Department expresses its concern over us, this means that it will deal a new blow to our hungry stomachs, she said. Isn't that ridiculous? Like the U.S., they talk about how, oh, like, look at these people suffering in these countries, we need to help them. But then they're like, let's help them by making their situation worse and giving them sanctions. And then like the price of food goes up on top of that. It's insane. It's insane what these bloodthirsty maniacs that we have in office are doing. In the recent development, the oil-rich kingdom has raised the US dollar exchange rate used to calculate customs duties on essential goods that enter Yemen, a country grappling with what the United Nations says is the world's largest humanitarian crisis, with millions facing famine. The decision, which has been adopted by the ousted president's government, has quickly been put into effect and has doubled customs tariffs for major goods and products that enter from the ports controlled by the Saudi-led coalition. In the wake of the Saudi decision, the price of the essential goods has been doubled, particularly in Aden, Hadramaut, Al-Marra, and all southern provinces occupied by the Saudi-led coalition. In Aden, prices of oil, sauces, vegetables, and fruits have more than tripled. The hike in duties from 250 to 110 Yemeni rials to the dollar applies to basic commodities such as flour, sugars, cooking oil, rice, milk, fuel, and medicine. Like, these are the basic foods that these people can have. And, it doesn't, we have enough money in this world to end this problem. We have enough money in this world to end homelessness and hunger in other countries, in the whole world. But we just won't do it because we live in a really effed up world in which just a few people, 0.0000001% of people, it's just very few family members who run everything, families. They prevent this from happening because they want to be the only ones that can live lavishly. Like, there is enough resources, if it's the right kind of resources, for all of us to not be hungry, to have a good life, and to focus on more important things like understanding consciousness and spirituality. Like, we can't focus on those things because people don't have their survival needs met. And so they can't, if they don't have that, they're not even, close to achieving their happiness that they need. And we're in this country that is playing a huge role in causing this mass suffering. And so it is, in a way, like, it is a responsibility of ours to try to raise awareness in this country and to urge and pressure these politicians, these bloodthirsty maniacs, to stop to stop funding Saudi Arabia, to end these world wars and to get out of them, and not to be settled for crumbs. Like, we have people like celebrating for these crumbs that we're getting with the infrastructure bill. We have people settling for the crumbs that we get, like when we, barely pull out of places like Afghanistan, even though there's still going to be a U.S. involvement there. We have a long way to go. And we have to, like, that's how we stand in solidarity with these people. And this point was brought up, I can't remember where, but I think it was in regards to when we were discussing Palestine. Like, if we had a family member, like someone or a friend or someone we deeply care about, that was there, and that was, their life was in danger, or who had been killed, or who's being tortured, we would feel a stronger urgency to fight for that issue, to raise consciousness about that issue, to pressure these politicians to go out and protest and organize. Like, we'd be feeling a bigger urgency. But because we don't have that attachment, because we don't know somebody personally who's suffering there in any of these countries, we don't really have that sense of urgency. In a way, we are all, we have a privilege. We have a privilege of being, protected in this country, even though a lot of us in this country are suffering also. I mean, all these issues are connected. As these corporations continue to profit off of these wars in these other countries, they become more powerful and can implement policies to cause us to suffer even more. So let's stand in union with all these people in the global south who are suffering. And yeah, unfortunately, let's keep it in mind. As I've said on this show several times, electoral politics will not save us. We have minorities, we have people who are descendants or come straight from the global south who have families in these countries that aren't fighting for these issues. They also don't feel a sense of urgency because it's career first and comfort for them. And we're all like, our safety, helping the people suffering in the global south is a distant second for them. That's why I wanted to pull this up here by ICU. Said Talib has family there in Palestine and she could care less, it seems. Like it's insane, right? It's insane how, and this point needs to be driven to people. Look, we have these people that should be feeling this urgency, and they're not actually fighting like there is an urgency to get out of these countries and to, to pressure these politicians to get all these billionaires or create enough money to end hunger, to end world hunger, to end world homelessness. So let's not forget about what's happening in Yemen. If you guys know anybody who I can interview about this, please let me know. I would love to have them on. And prayers or good vibes, whatever it is you believe in, let's send them out to those people who are suffering. And Ringwald, exactly. There's a negative feedback loop of corruption in DC. These supposed progressives who said they were not going to take corporate money, they're actually, indirectly they are. And they're protecting these politicians, their colleagues who are taking corporate money. So Bill Bradley says, today the middle class is white collar and comfortable. I think it is more than correlation as to why we have more problems creating a unified worker movement. Yeah, unfortunately, these people, these Jen Perlmans, they're comfortable where they are, and they don't feel like they have to fight. And then when other people try to urge them to fight, they're like, no, 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 like, you don't have to do so much direct action. Just vote for me, or just keep voting for those people. That's how we can get changes done. Vote. We can do these things. We can do these things like super peacefully. Just go outside and just hold up picket signs. That's not enough. We have to do more than just serial protests, like going out. Like, yeah, don't get me wrong, it's a start, but we have to engage and talk to people and raise their consciousness. Tell them, explain to them about the problems, explain to them about how their consent is being manufactured via the mainstream media, how it's bought off by these people that profit off war. Tell them, just look at the commercials. Look at the commercials when you watch news from MSNBC or CNN or Fox News. You see Raytheon, Bowen commercials. Tell them about that. And be like, do you think that they're going to give any news that's going to be, that's going to go against their agenda? Of course not. Yeah, I see you. Yeah, I guess my point with the squad, etc., is if they don't even care about family, then that says everything to me. Like, you're not even going to go out and fight for your family members who are suffering in the global south, in these countries like Palestine and Somalia, in the case of Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar, respectively. Like, you don't even care that much about your own blood. Then, then how do you have any hope that they're going to fight for you? You're nothing to them. You're nothing but adding on to a false sense of hope for their campaign so that they can receive money and so that they can secure their position. Mariana said, I think the biggest point that most people don't get is that the US was never supposed to be in the Middle East. So many people can't understand the depth of the lies. Not only that, like our presence there exacerbates things. Look at how Afghanistan was doing prior to US intervention. Like, look at how Chile was before US intervention in the 1970s. Same with all these other South American countries, these African countries. Like, they were prospering before there was any US or Western involvement, and then things get worse because they're going to become they have so many resources that they can first become competitors, and then they become countries that are more successful than the United States and all these European countries. The advantage that these European countries had in the 1700s, 1800s is that they had better weapons at the time. And rather than helping these countries develop to help their people out, they selfishly killed those people off and used it and profited off of their resources. And that's still going on to this day. Colonialism has not ended. Imperialism is alive and well. And so that's what we got to tell people. Our country has absolutely no business being in those countries. Like, we don't need to have a military presence there. If we left them alone, they would be a lot better off. They would figure things out. They'd fix their problems, and they'd prosper. Just as how they were prospering prior to the amount of U.S. involvement that was there. You know, post invasion, post funding of moderate rebels. Adkid, how do you propose to bring about changes? Well, that's what we discuss here, every Thursday. But also what I tell you guys is, if you join online communities where you yourself will benefit by exchanging information and getting to know people, you will find people that live close to you. You can organize events with the people that you meet online, and you can engage with people who are out in the street, just passing by, talk to them, raise their consciousness. We discuss every Thursday more effective ways of how we can do that. Like, we can have flyers with information and where people can get their resources from, because a lot of these people, they will never, in the internet even, they will never come across channels like this, or journal outlets like Unlimited Hangout or The Gray Zone or Moon of Alabama. They'll never come across that. So you have to get out of your comfort zone, organize with a few people, or even by yourself, and you just have a conversation with them and tell them about the fundamental problems of this country, how the corporations have everything bought off. Just be patient. If there's some things that they say that's just misinformation, like you see that they're misinformed, be patient with them and just tell them about the fundamental problems, and you'll be like, you know what, yeah, but you know what, like, there's this issue right here, the corporations have caused that to happen. Just give them something to think about. The more people there are doing that, engaging with the masses, that will lead to a domino effect. If one person that you talk to becomes informed enough, they will pass that information on to the next person.